And a soggy ride home from school. Here's a look at Futurecast. Let's look about 8 o'clock in the morning. Steadier rain coming in. A few rumbles of thunder may be possible. You can see that continues through the lunch hour into the late afternoon hours. And then we should be done with things as we get into our Tuesday evening after about 6, 7 o'clock or so. Here's a live look at radar.
Breaking news, President Donald Trump is getting supporters excited during a rally tonight at Bojangles Coliseum. He's speaking to a packed crowd in Charlotte. Starting tomorrow morning, voters will go to the polls in North Carolina and 13 other states. So tonight, he's talking about Democratic candidates for president and other big campaign issues. The president also addressed military involvement in the Middle East and coronavirus concerns.
We've made a lot of progress. We've really done a great job with it. We're keeping our borders strong. My job is to protect the health of American patients and Americans first, and that's what we're doing.
We'll have a full wrap-up of the president's speech tonight at 10. Spectrum News reporter Ruben Jones talks with voters who were outside the Coliseum before the big rally.
Well, thousands of people were gathering before this event started. You can see them as they are filing in, going through security as they go inside of Bojangles Coliseum. All this despite the fact that the president was in this same spot speaking just a year and a half ago. We spoke to some of the supporters earlier today.
I just have a huge inspiration for Trump, and I think he's a great guy. And, you know, a lot of people talk bad about him, but there's not really much bad you can say if you actually look into the facts. And
it's almost like he's inhuman. It's almost like it's just, I don't know. I voted for Trump in 2016. I was on the bandwagon from the beginning.
If you've never been to a rally of President Donald Trump's, they resemble more of a fair-like setting. A lot of merchandise being sold for the president, everything from hats to signs. As I mentioned, President Trump came to Charlotte in 2018. That was before the election day to try and draw in more voters. He held a rally here, but it was actually just here. He was actually just here in Charlotte about a month or so ago talking on topics like opportunity zones in historically black colleges and universities. Tonight's event, though, is focused on campaigning, trying to draw support for 2020, as well as one day before Super Tuesday, as the Democrats and a number of other elected officials prepare for the North Carolina primary on Tuesday. The rally started at 7 o'clock this evening here at the Bojangles Coliseum. If you are going to be anywhere in this area tonight, expect road closures and heavy traffic. I'm Ruben Jones reporting in Charlotte, Spectrum News.
And then there were 5. Amy Klobuchar ends her presidential campaign. The Minnesota senator is now reportedly endorsing former rival Joe Biden. Klobuchar ran as a moderate and said she could win over voters in the Midwest. She appeared to be picking up momentum after finishing 3rd in New Hampshire, but then performed poorly in Nevada and South Carolina. She was polling in single digits in nearly every Super Tuesday state. Open in just hours, and election workers all over the state are setting up your voting locations. Spectrum News reporter Garrett Berquist joins us from one of those polling places to show us how you can make the process a little easier.
This room will be full of voting machines tomorrow. There will be voters coming in and out all day. There are thousands of precincts just like this one all across North Carolina, and all of them will be staffed with your neighbors.
And these are the voting booths.
This is one of 8 polling sites Tom Cole will coordinate on Tuesday. He's been working elections since the late 90s.
I actually got drawn into it because I was observing that my precinct needed more help in it, and they said, well, fine, you should become a volunteer.
Cole and poll workers like him will spend some 16 hours at the poll sites.
It's a great team experience because you're going to be working together for quite a while, and a lot of good friendships get formed out of the amount of time you spend together, but it's a long day.
To make that long day shorter, Cole suggests you do your homework. Find your sample ballot online and use it as a voting guide. You can fill it out and take it with you to the polls.
The sample ballot can't be fed into a tabulator, so it's a great way to say this is about what it's going to look like, but I can mark it the way I plan to and bring it with you. Voters can also use their smartphone when they're in the voting booth to look up information on the web if they need to. They can't make phone calls or take selfies and things like that, but they can also use their smartphones as a resource.
Democratic voters in particular will have to be careful who they pick. 2/3 of the presidential candidates listed on their ballots have dropped out. Tom Steyer and Pete Buttigieg ended their campaigns on Sunday, and Amy Klobuchar threw in the towel Monday afternoon.
If someone has already cast their ballot, either absentee by mail or early vote, we will be counting that ballot. You do not have an opportunity to vote again in North Carolina once you've cast your ballot.
We'll go ahead and stage the voting booths in this area and then move them out in the morning.
Okay. Cole says the best way you can help poll workers is to be patient.
The folks who are working in the polling places are your neighbors. You know, they're the folks who live maybe down the street or a mile away from your house or whatever, and they've stepped forward as volunteers. So they're involved because this is their sense of civic duty.
All the party primaries have a no preference option under the presidential primary list. That just means you're participating in the primary, but you don't have any preference as to who gets nominated at the party conventions. You can find all the information you need to vote on our website. Go to SpectrumLocalNews.com and under the Politics tab, click on 2020 Elections. In Raleigh, Garrett Bergquist, Spectrum News.
Spectrum News will be your go-to for Super Tuesday tomorrow. We'll have live coverage starting at 7 p.m. and will continue throughout the night as polls close and votes are counted. Who will win North Carolina and the other states? Find out right here tomorrow night. It was a bounce-back day on Wall Street. The Dow closing up 1,293 points, up 5%. The Nasdaq finished up at 385 points, closing up 4.5%. The S&P gained back 136 points, or 4%. Economists, though, are saying not to expect the one-day uptick to be the norm. That's because U.S. Treasuries are still trading at near-record levels, and a survey on Chinese manufacturing shows the country at its weakest level ever. President Donald Trump's bump stock ban will stay in place. The Supreme Court announced it will not take up a challenge of the ban. Bump stocks enable semi-automatic weapons to function as machine guns. The Trump administration decided to classify bump stocks as machine guns following the deadly Las Vegas shooting in 2017 that left more than 50 people dead and hurt hundreds more. The Supreme Court will take on a lawsuit against the Affordable Care Act. More than a dozen Republican-led states are challenging the Obama-era health care law. The suit argues that with the individual mandate repealed, the rest of the law is unconstitutional. The court will hear arguments during its next term, which begins in October, but it's likely we won't get a decision until after the 2020 election. The number of people dead from the coronavirus climbs to over 3,000 people worldwide. The illness has spread to even more countries, and the World Health Organization says 9 times more cases have been reported outside China than inside it over the past day or so. And the rising number of cases in Italy is causing several UNC students to return home from study abroad programs. The university announced it officially ended its spring study abroad program following recommendations from the Department of State. We spoke to one student who's flying back to Charlotte, devastated after spending more than a month in Europe.
It was just, like, getting the initial email from UNC was one of, like, it was just super somber, and the next day I cried like 6 separate times.
UNC says there are no changes to the summer and fall study abroad programs right now. A pretty mild and cloudy day out there to start your work week. What's the next few days looking like? Let's get a look at your Weather on the Ones forecast for details.
We continue with our Monday evening here through Charlotte, and they're into the high country. We've had some breaks in the clouds, a couple of little spotty showers have wandered through at times. We've got a live look at radar coming up for you in just a few moments, but things relatively quiet for us and should remain that way. That will, though, be changing as we head into the overnight hours. Tuesday, you're going to want to make sure you have the umbrella and the rain jacket with you. You'll need it for the better part of the daylight hours. 62 our high today, 41 the low. Typically daytime temperatures top out in the upper 50s with morning lows in the mid 30s. We'll find sunrise at 6:50 a.m. And the rain bucket midnight through late afternoon at the airport. Dry, so we have a small deficit for this brand new month of March, and we're still working with a really healthy surplus for the year, so we're fine in the water department. Some rain possible for the morning commute. There may be some steadier showers west and northwest of Charlotte, and then that overspreads the area. Some showers will even be active for the return trip home for the evening commute. Average high this time of year in Charlotte, it's upper 50s. We'll be above that the next couple days. You get a sense for another cold front coming through. Temperatures will take a bit of a dip as we get into Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then attempt to rebound as we head into our Sunday. You get a look at the sogginess for Tuesday, bit of a break for the better part of the day Wednesday, then Wednesday night, Thursday is the next round of rain, and then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday we're looking good. Steadier rain, Boone in the morning, overspreading the Piedmont as we head through late morning into the afternoon hours, steady around lunchtime through the afternoon, 3, 4 o'clock or so still active, and then by about 6, 7 o'clock in the evening, it's east, out, and gone, and we settle into a relatively quiet pattern for Tuesday night and Wednesday, but then there's rain returning later Wednesday night and for the day Thursday. We'll find overnight lows of 51 in Charlotte, 42 for the high country. Your 3-day outlook is coming up.
Don't let the misinformation force you or force businesses out of business when they're viable, good businesses.
The coronavirus outbreak is posing a very real threat to people's health across the world, but it's also sparking misguided fear and panic. We hear how Asian-style eateries in our community have been impacted next.
At Spectrum News, we focus on a local perspective. You don't have a whole lot of time. You just want to know exactly what's going on so that you can plan your day. You can get out there and you can be informed.
Weather on the Ones helps you prepare for whatever may come your way. And live traffic updates every 10 minutes give you a reliable look at your morning commute. We're rooted here in Charlotte, just like you.
Your morning news, weekdays on Spectrum News, exclusively on Spectrum.
Stories are everywhere. The stories of North Carolina are the politics of North Carolina. I want to tell you about my podcast, Tying It Together with Tim Boyne. It's a behind-the-scenes look at the fascinating world of North Carolina politics. We're really going to focus on the people behind the politics. We're going to dig deep, find out what makes these people tick and why they make the decisions that they do. Join us for the conversation. I cannot wait for you to listen.
It might be small, but it's all yours. And to be successful, you've got to get the most out of every dollar you put into your business. That's why you count on Spectrum Business for fast internet and phone service at the best price. And with over 99.9% network reliability, Spectrum Business makes sure you can take care of your customers in the store and online. Spectrum Business, we keep small business running.
Capitol Tonight is the place to help you understand what's going on in this state. I think people are tired of all the bickering and all the stories about nonsense, and I think that's why they come to Capitol Tonight. They get to hear about the issues, they get to hear about the people, but they get to hear in a way that's not a huge fight. It's a really good discussion.
It's about fairness, it's about trust, it's about giving both sides of the story. It's about informing our viewers on the most important things in North Carolina.
The coronavirus outbreak is posing a very real threat to people's health across the world, but the virus has also sparked panic that's based on fear and misinformation. Spectrum News anchor Jonathan Lowe speaks to Asian-style restaurant suppliers reporting steep drops in sales.
North Carolina has no confirmed cases of coronavirus, yet Asian-style eateries here seem to be paying the price.
I empathize with them because it's like something that's beyond their control, but they're suffering.
Regina Galan is general manager of the Dossing Restaurant Supply Warehouse in Northeast Charlotte.
We sell the The powdered wasabi.
They service all types of eateries, but Chinese restaurants take up a good portion of their business.
We cater to I want to say 60% of the restaurants in Charlotte.
Galan says they don't typically see steep drop-offs in business. During the month of February, though,
He said it's been terrible, like I want to say 30, 40, 50% drop.
Galan says it's all due to the coronavirus outbreak that's killed hundreds overseas, sickened thousands worldwide, and has even killed at least 6 people in the U.S.
Customers are explaining that they basically they're afraid to go to many of the Asian stores and many of the Asian restaurants.
Concern, she says, that's absolute.
Because in restaurants, they have to wash their hands 4 or 5 times a day. They wash them when they use the bathroom.
She's heard about concerns over the food quality and where it's coming from.
But nothing's coming from China. I don't understand that at all. Never come from China. It comes from Restaurant Depot, which is an American company. It comes from U.S. Foods, which are still American companies.
And she thinks cultural stereotypes are only sensationalizing things even further.
It's 100% misinformation. When people are afraid, they don't think. And it's that fear factor that's causing people to react and not think.
Leading to a trickle-down effect that's causing, she says, unwarranted consequences.
If those 60% have a drop in money, they're not coming to us. There's no money for them to spend, and they're not coming here. So we suffer as well as them.
Galan also says that they are seeing an impact from the coronavirus on the price of the items they sell. Take, for instance, masks. She says they used to have an overstock before this coronavirus outbreak, but now they can barely find them. The price for a box used to be $3.50. It's now $13.50 a box, she says. In the newsroom, Jonathan Lowe, Spectrum News.
Coming up on Spectrum News, as calls grow for the annual South by Southwest Festival to be canceled over the coronavirus, one big name says he's pulling out and is urging others to do the same. We'll tell you why when Spectrum News returns.
There was a time when the internet with Spectrum, our internet looks like this. And this. And that. Wow. And this.
Yeah, that one looks great on you.
I like that one too. That's why Spectrum has the fastest internet speeds available, with more bandwidth to power more devices. Aw, cute. Family time. Spectrum. Think forward.
As we go through a 30-minute show, we're always taking it to the paint. We're going to be flying high. We're going to punch it in for 6, because that's what we do. Think about it. We cover the great teams across our state with our great team. You're just like us. You're passionate about sports, and so are we. You deserve more than 3 minutes a night. That's why we serve up 30 minutes a night each and every night. And we are going to be doing everything we possibly can to bring you the sports news that you want.
Chevrolet Sports Night, nightly at 10:30.